Welcome to Recipes Recommended. Today our recommendation, Ghormeh Sabzi, an herb and meat stew, comes from our friends Amir and Heidi with a couple of subtle modifications. When we reached out to some friends for recipes, Heidi sent us her Ghormeh Sabzi recipe, which she transcribed from her father-in-law and suggested serving it with Tahdig. Little did we know how much of a satisfying challenge that would be. Tahdig is traditionally made with basmati rice cooked in a pot with ghee or clarified butter and saffron-infused water, forming a golden crust on the bottom of the pot if made correctly. Full disclosure, we succeeded on our third attempt. To start, we took 3 cups of basmati rice and rinsed it with cold water 5 times until the majority of the starch was washed away. Then it was covered with water and let to sit for 30 minutes. While we waited, we added 12 cups of water and a 1/4 cup of salt to a pot and brought it up to a boil. We also steeped a 1/4 teaspoon of ground saffron in some not quite boiling water and clarified some butter. After 30 minutes, we added the rice to the heavily salted water and started checking its doneness after 4 minutes. The recipe I was following mentions to do this as soon as the first grains of rice pop up. What you're looking for is a grain that is tender on the outside but still with a bite to it on the inside. My rice was ready at about 7 minutes. After draining the rice, we got to the make it or break it part of the recipe. On medium-low heat, we added butter, olive oil, and some of the saffron water to the pot and swirled it to cover as much surface as possible. Working quickly, we added enough rice to form a thin layer before patting it down with the spoon we were using. This will later form the crust that this dish is known for. We then gently scattered the remaining rice in a mound and poked holes with the handle of a wooden spoon, being careful not to disturb the bottom layer. After cooking covered for about 10 minutes and steam was releasing from the lid, some more butter was added to the remaining saffron water and then drizzled over the top of the rice. We fashioned the pot lid with a kitchen towel, folding in the sides so they didn't catch fire when we put it back on the pot to catch any condensation. After lowering the heat to low, we cooked the rice for a final 30 minutes, rotating it once for even crispness. Ghormeh Sabzi, according to Amir and Heidi, can either mean gourmet greens or stewed herbs. I thought there was a typo when I read the ingredients because the amount of greens was shocking to my Western palate. Despite the proportions not being what I'm used to, the method and other steps were all familiar. We start with diced onion and minced garlic and either cubed beef chuck or another red meat like lamb, which is a common option. Cooking Ghormeh Sabzi started with a lot of familiar ingredients and techniques. At this point, we could have been prepping ingredients for a chili or a beef and barley stew, perhaps a ragu for a luxurious lasagna. Although I knew the next steps, it felt like cooking the rest of the recipe would be a breeze and I wouldn't make any mistakes like I had when cooking the rice the first 2 times. This type of cooking excites me because cooking is a common language no matter what background you're from. The onion and garlic are cooked down for about 5 minutes over medium heat before adding the beef. I added some salt and cooked until evenly browned. A hefty amount of turmeric and black pepper was then sprinkled on. The mixture was covered with water and then stirred to combine. The stew was covered and cooked on medium heat for around 45 minutes. Generally speaking, 45 minutes is a long enough time to take care of most prep tasks, but when you're de-stemming 3 bunches of parsley and chopping equal amounts of green onions, spinach, and cilantro, it takes a while. I ended up getting my kids to help by drying off the washed herbs in our salad spinner before chopping them in our food processor in batches. Per Heidi and Amir, we also fried dried fenugreek leaves in some olive oil to be added at the end. You can find fenugreek leaves in Persian markets, but you can also find them online very easily. I'll add a link in the description. Finally, after cooking for 45 minutes, we added the enormous amount of herbs and a can of dried kidney beans before adding the fenugreek leaves. As the herbs cooked, they became a vibrant green, and we squeezed in the juice of 2 lemons. Amir's father makes it clear that he likes it more sour than is typical. The stew was left to simmer for only a few more minutes. Right before serving, you have the option to add additional butter or another fat like coconut oil or ghee. Heidi and Amir have tried all 3 of those and told me they couldn't tell a significant difference. We flipped the rice, as you would a cake, and on our 3rd attempt, the one which really counted since the previous 2 test attempts failed, we saw what we were looking for, a golden crust. After plating, I'm not sure which element was more striking, but I can say that the dish was delicious. Thanks again for watching. If you liked this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll also be publishing a corresponding blog post with more of my thoughts and experience making this recipe. Again, you can find that on our website, recipesrecommended.com. And please don't forget, great minds eat alike.
Happy birthday, Heidi!